Let's talk about the pay-per-view. We're finally here. This is another pay-per-view under Dusty Rhodes' belt. You may recall from a few episodes ago, he laid it out that, hey, he needs 6 months to turn things around. So this is another one of those pay-per-views. What he's going with in the main event is Jeff Jarrett versus Kevin Nash. Meltzer's skeptical of that, saying, hey, match quality-wise, that's not going to be on the level of some of the other matches that we've seen recently, but it does have more star power. So will it work? Well, we'll see. But here's what is working. 775 people are there. I know what you're thinking. That doesn't sound like a lot. That's capacity of the soundstage, and they're turning away several hundred people, several of which are crying. They're in tears, Jeff, that they can't get in the building. Do you remember hearing this? People crying?
I did it. And, you know, the numbers are give or take, who really cares, 100, 150 people on that. And I'm just trying to, when we shuffled, because it's all on, you know, the space and the amount of seats we can get in there, and the fire codes would come out, and then you would have different administrators, whether it's from Universal Studios, the fire department, the on staff, just all that. But when we would cram them in there, and then again, for maybe new listeners, when we ran Universal Studios Orlando, we were a park attraction. You could not sell tickets. With that being said, they had to kind of honor the commitments of, or we did, of the lease, but the whole deal structure was, we need to make this a true park attraction, which means that we had to have two lines, two queues. One would be, I'm going to come through City Walk. I don't want to ride any of the rides. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to come watch wrestling. Or you go in the park and you go ride roller coasters or Harry Potter or whatever it may be, and then you go stand in line and you get to come in and watch wrestling just like you would on any other ride. Well, we had to service the amount of people in the park. There was a certain section, and so we had to play the ebb and flow of, you had to let both lines in, and when you got to capacity, you had to say no. And there were people that came in the park, I hate to say it, little kids that, hey man, we're full. They didn't like that, mom and dad. And then you have the wrestling fans that got in their car, parked at City Walk, made the trek over there. Oh, nope, we're full. What? They were not happy. So it was a good sign, but man, when you kind of hear that, we would have lots of nights. We would have talent go up and down the line and sign autographs. And then we got to a certain point where we always had pictures. We always wanted to service the folks out there. But Connie, bottom line, that was a great feeling to have when you're turning folks around, turning folks away.
It's got to be a good feeling, especially when, you know, you're fighting for your life here and folks are being turned away at the door, hundreds of them. And some of them are crying because they can't get in. And I know it's a free show, but still, that's not always been the case. So it is a sign that things are going well. But this show is not without controversy. Before we talk about the matches, I do want to talk about the debates that happened leading into the show. One of them is, hey, what should go on last? There was a feeling, a sentiment amongst some folks that Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles for the X Division title, it's an Iron Man match, that should go on last. That is going to be a match that WWE is not going to put on television, that style match here in 2005. So let's really push that. Let's make that the main event. And Dusty, I guess, according to Dave Meltzer, drew a line in the sand and said, there's no way the X Division title goes on after the NWA World title. With the benefit of hindsight, was that the right call? I know why Dusty made that call. He's the NWA champion himself. It is legacy. It is heritage. It is tradition. I get all of that. And from the star power standpoint, you and Kevin Nash are the brand. I mean, you are certainly more identifiable. But if we are really the challenger brand and we're trying to differentiate ourselves as being different than, well, AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels can go steal the show and respectfully do things that maybe Kevin Nash can't do. Was there ever a debate in your mind as to what should close the show? Did Dusty get it right, saying that it should be you and Nash going on last?
A completely subjective answer. It is, there is not a completely 100% right or wrong. And as a talent, I do remember I'd give anything not to go on last and not to have to follow AJ and Chris, just because of the nature that I was well aware that All right, they're going to do a 30-minute Ironman, and the first, 8, 10, 12 minutes are going to be AJ's spectacular stuff, and then they're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the story, and then they're going to pull out all the different false finishes, and then they're going to ask for more time. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is the people will be completely exhausted after the 30-minute match, and me and Kev are going to go out there and do more for this discussion, maybe more entertainment as opposed to the sport, or be more sports entertainers as opposed to professional wrestlers. And I'm word spitting here, but you know where I'm going with it. But Dusty was in this. I don't think to me, it's not really an old school mentality. It is the mindset of, okay, the NWA title is our prized possession, and that's kind of what the funnel is. And we're going to be having all kind of star power and this and that. And, in everyone's, not everyone's, but in Dusty's mind and creative mind, all right, what are they paying to see? Okay, we're going to go with that as the main event. But as a talent, I'd love to have gone on before AJ.
We got to talk a little bit about some other news and notes, maybe some controversy. We're going to see the debut on this show of Monty Sopp, who we used to know as Billy Gunn. We don't think we're going to be able to call him that here. So on TV, we call him the former Billy Gunn or the New Age Outlaw. Of course, we know there's no way we're going to be able to keep that. But obviously, it's a big deal to have him in the fold. I mean, what a great performer, what a presence, what a great guy to have in the locker room. But Sean Waltman's also here, but boy, just barely. He wrestled the night before, 2 nights prior in Tijuana, and took a bad bump. And the morning of the pay-per-view, he's at the TV hotel in a wheelchair. I mean, this is hurting for certain. Somehow he manages to make it there. It's written in the Observer, you're really high on Waltman. Dusty's not so sold on this, but clearly we're going to go with it. And when you see the state of Waltman, man, he's hurting. He's here, but dude, in a wheelchair? How do you wrap your head around that on the day of the show, Jeff?
Yeah, and see, I don't have any of the recollection for this episode. Apologies of us debating what Billy's name was going to be. Did we not just go with anyway? That I don't remember any of that discussion, and maybe Dusty and Dixie and Legal maybe had that discussion, and then Kid Sean being in a wheelchair. Connie, I can't tell you that I recall that. And look, I was running, obviously, me and Kev working and a lot of other things going on. I just don't remember that coming across my desk.